The piercing alarm shattered the eerie silence of the Arctic bunker as the stasis pods hissed open, awakening the last free humans in the universe from their 500,000-year slumber. Vega's electric blue eyes widened as he scanned the ancient Earth records displayed on the hollow screen. Zor, this Arctic bunker isn't like anything we've seen from that era, right before the Council erased human civilization. It can't be a coincidence this had to be humanity's final gambit. Zor scoffed, not looking up from his display. Those Council-written histories say humans were primitives, hapless apes with bows and spears, he chuckled. And you believe they had a plan? Doubtful. So you accept those accounts as gospel? Wake up, Zor. Have you noticed the inconsistencies in the archives about Earth? Vega crossed his arms. Some records claim humans had tech that rivaled or even surpassed the Council races. For a primitive species, the Council sure dedicated a lot of ships and troops to wiping them out. Zor paused, furrowing his brow. I suppose it is illogical. If they were so inferior, such an overwhelming force was overkill. Exactly. There's more to this story, Vega said. I think the Council buried the truth about humanity, rewrote history to cover their tracks. And this bunker? I bet it's the key to unraveling what really happened. There's a reason they've kept it hidden. Zor nodded slowly, his curiosity piqued. If you're right and the Council's been lying, what do you think they're so desperate to hide? What were they afraid of? That's what we need to find out, Vega said, his voice hardening. Because if those humans in the bunker survived and the Council finds them first, they'll finish the genocide they started 500,000 years ago. We can't let that happen. The two scientists looked at each other, the weight of their revelation sinking in. They were no longer just chasing an academic curiosity. The fate of Earth's last survivors and the truth of humanity's downfall rested in their hands. Failure was not an option. Hours later, ensconced in their private research chamber, Vega pored over a cryptic data fragment as Zor looked on expectantly. You've got to see this, Vega muttered, enlarging the file on his hollow screen. A top-secret Council mission to the Arctic, a century post-invasion. Objective: secure an underground human facility. Zor leaned in, studying the sparse details. Interesting, but the Council routinely hunted for human holdouts back then. What's so special about this one? Several things, Vega replied. First, the location. I think this is the same bunker complex from that earlier record. But there's more. He swiped to a new screen. The mission's outcome was never logged. Highly irregular. Zor furrowed his brow. Unusual, I grant you, but perhaps just an oversight. Vega shook his head. All other raids were meticulously documented. But this file? Ultra-classified. Someone high up scrubbed every detail. Zor, they're hiding something big. Zor stroked his chin thoughtfully. Troubling implications indeed. But to play devil's advocate, why would the Council bury this mission in particular? What's your theory? I can't be certain, Vega admitted. But look at the timeline. Right after the Arctic expedition, the Council drastically accelerated Project Starfall, clearing out the remaining humans to off-world labor camps at triple speed. Zor nodded slowly, pieces clicking into place. As if they suddenly deemed humans an acute threat and wanted them off Earth post-haste. You think they found something in that bunker, don't you? Something that spooked them to the core. Yes, Vega said grimly. Whatever happened in the Arctic changed everything. Humanity's final stand held the key to their downfall. The researchers sat in heavy silence, the weight of centuries pressing down. Zor broke the spell first. Vega, if you're right about this, it's the find of a lifetime. The truth behind the Federation's darkest chapter. But we have to be smart, careful. If the Council buried this so deep, they won't be pleased if we dig it up. Agreed. Vega said, resolve hardening his features. We're through the looking glass now. This is bigger than us. If we do this, we're putting everything on the line: our careers, our safety, maybe our lives. Zor held his friend's gaze steadily. For the truth, for justice, for the memory of Earth and her children. A slow smile crept across his face. I'm in, no matter where this rabbit hole leads. Vega clasped Zor's arm, gratitude and determination mingling in his eyes. Then it settled. We chase this to the ends of the galaxy if we have to, starting with that damn bunker. He turned back to his console, fingers flying across the keys. If we're doing this, we'll need a ship, supplies, a convincing cover story, and I think I know just the place to start. The interior of the workshop was a chaotic jumble, every surface piled high with salvage tech and half-finished projects. In the center of the clutter, a saucer-shaped object rested on the workbench, its pitted metal hull betraying its age. Zor hunched over the battered probe, his brow furrowed in concentration as he fiddled with its innards. This is one of the only surviving survey drones from the initial invasion, he explained, not looking up from his work. The Council sent hundreds of these to map Earth's polar regions, but most were lost or destroyed. Zor eyed the ancient machine skeptically. And you think this relic holds the key to the Arctic mystery, Vega? That tech is 500,000 years old. The odds of recovering anything useful are astronomically low. Vega flashed a confident grin. Never tell me the odds. This drone's black box was recovered intact. With a little coaxing, we might just get lucky. He made a final adjustment, and the probe's core suddenly thrummed to life, bathing the workshop in an eerie blue glow. Vega's smile widened in triumph while Zor's eyes widened in surprise. But the victory was fleeting. The holographic display above the drone crackled and flickered, resolving into an ominous warning: data corruption detected. Memory banks compromised. Recovery attempt risks permanent data loss. Zor threw up his hands in frustration. Well, that's just perfect. We finally get the blasted thing working, and now we can't even access the data without frying the whole system. Zor's eyebrow ridges shot up. Sabotage? You're saying someone deliberately corrupted the data? Think about it, Vega pressed. The Council went to a lot of trouble to bury the details of that Arctic mission. What if they didn't want anyone else accessing this drone's sensor logs? Understanding slowly spread across Zor's face. By the stars, you're right. They must have found something in the bunker, something so damaging they'd risk losing all the survey data just to keep it hidden. The weight of the implications hung heavy in the air between them. The Arctic bunker, humanity's last stand, held a secret that terrified the galaxy's most powerful races, a secret they'd kill to protect. After a long moment, Vega squared his shoulders and turned back to the drone. His jaw set with determination. We've come too far to back down now. I'm going to try to recover the data. It's the only way we'll get to the truth. Zor swallowed hard but nodded. Just be careful, okay? We're in deep space here. When am I not? Vega quipped, but his tone was grim. He tapped a command into the console, and the probe's display surged with light. Streams of code began cascading down the screen faster and faster until the workshop was awash in strobing, frenzied brilliance. Vega and Zor's eyes were glued to the progress bar on the drone's recovery program, each percentage point ticking by with agonizing slowness. The workshop was utterly silent except for the faint hum of machinery and the pounding of the researchers' hearts. Just as the bar hit 99%, the door slammed open with a deafening bang. Vega and Zor jolted upright, whirling to face the intruder. Doctor. Zalek stormed in, his face contorted in fury, two burly Barzan security officers flanking him, their postures rigid and threatening. I knew it, Zalek snarled, jabbing an accusatory finger at Vega and Zor. Unauthorized access to restricted files. Misuse of archaeological artifacts. You've gone too far this time. Zor opened his mouth, trying to force out an explanation, but Zalek steamrolled over him. Save your excuses. I've already reported you to the authorities. Consider yourselves suspended, effective immediately, pending a full disciplinary hearing. The guard started forward, reaching for Vega and Zor. In a flash of desperate inspiration, Vega lunged for the drone, his fingers closing around the data chip. He yanked it free, holding it aloft like a talisman. Wait, please. You don't understand. Vega locked eyes with Zalek's, his voice urgent. This chip contains information the Council buried 500,000 years ago. Something they didn't want anyone to know about the humans. We have to. Zalek's cut him off with a derisive snort. Enough of your crackpot conspiracy theories. The Council's dealings with the humans are ancient history. They were a dangerous, uncivilized species that needed to be controlled for the good of the galaxy. That's all there is to it. He held out his hand, his expression brooking no argument. Now, hand over that data chip and come quietly. Vega and Zor exchanged a long, loaded look, a silent conversation passing between them, a raging debate condensed into a handful of seconds. Finally, almost imperceptibly, Zor nodded. Vega's arm whipped forward, sending the data chip flying through the air. Zor snatched it effortlessly, then turned on his heel and sprinted out the door, ducking past the shocked security guards. Stop him. Zalek roared. The officers hesitated for a split second, then charged after Zor, their boots pounding on the metal floor. Vega turned back to Zalex, his eyes blazing with defiance. "You're wrong about the humans, and we're going to prove it." His voice dropped to a low, intense whisper. "The truth won't stay buried. Not this time." Zor glanced around the seedy bar nervously, his three-fingered hand clutching the data chip like a lifeline. The pulsing neon signs and raucous laughter of drunken patrons did little to calm his frayed nerves. He took a deep breath, trying to center himself, but his heart raced as if he had just sprinted across the Martian deserts. A hooded figure slid into the booth across from him, and Zor tensed, ready to bolt. But then the figure spoke, and relief washed over him like a cool Venusian rain. Vega pushed back his hood just enough to reveal a tight smile. "I have my ways. More importantly, were you able to access the data?" Zor nodded, sliding the chip across the scarred tabletop with trembling fingers. "It wasn't easy, but I found someone who could decrypt it." "Vega, you were right. The Council has been hiding something big." Vega leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with eager anticipation in the dim light. "Tell me everything." Zor took a shaky breath, the weight of the revelation pressing down on him like the crushing gravity of Jupiter. According to the drone's logs, when the Council forces reached the Arctic bunker, they found it abandoned but not empty. There was a message waiting for them from the last human leader. He said. He paused, shaking his head in disbelief, as if he couldn't quite wrap his mind around the words. He said that humanity knew they couldn't win the war but refused to be enslaved or exterminated. So they enacted a plan to place themselves in suspended animation, deep beneath the ice, until the Council inevitably fell, as all empires do. The leader vowed that humanity would rise again when the galaxy least expected it, to reclaim their rightful place among the stars. Vega sat back, his expression slack with shock. Suspended animation, but that technology was only theoretical. Zor shrugged, a wry smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. Apparently not for the humans. And there's more. The Council report recommended that the bunker be destroyed, but the mission commander countermanded the order. She believed the humans were already dead or dying and that preserving the site could provide valuable scientific insights, so they sealed the entrance and wiped all records of its existence. Vega was silent for a long moment, his brow furrowed as he processed the staggering implications. So somewhere on Earth, there could be humans still alive, waiting to be awakened. He met Zor's gaze, a fierce determination burning in his eyes, bright as the binary stars of Cygnus X1. "We have to find that bunker." Zor swallowed hard, the magnitude of the task looming before them like the vast expanse of the Orion Nebula. But how? The Council erased all traces of its location. It could be buried under kilometers of ice anywhere on the planet. Vega's smile widened, a glint of mischief sparking in his expression. "Not all traces. Remember that old survey drone? Its nav systems went offline after the crash, but its external sensors were still recording temperature, humidity, radiation levels, seismic activity. If we can cross-reference that data with known geological profiles of the Arctic region, we might be able to narrow down the search area." Zor's eyes widened, a flicker of hope kindling in his chest. "It's a long shot, but it's the best lead we've got. We'll need access to the university's supercomputer to crunch the numbers." Vega nodded, his jaw set with grim purpose. "Then that's our next move. We'll slip into the lab tonight after everyone's gone home. It's time to unravel this mystery once and for all." The two scientists fell silent, the weight of their discovery hanging heavy in the stale air of the bar. The fate of Earth's last survivors and the truth of humanity's legacy now rested squarely on their shoulders. Vega clinked his glass against Zor's, a solemn salute. To the truth he echoed, no matter where it leads us. They drained their glasses in unison, the fiery liquor burning down their throats. The die was cast, the course set. There could be no turning back now. Vega pushed himself to his feet, pulling his hood back up to conceal his features. "I'll meet you at the lab at midnight. Come alone, and make sure you're not followed." The hooded figure paused halfway out of the booth, Vega's eyes glinting in the shadows of his cowl, hard as diamonds. "They won't. We've come too far to fail now." With that, he melted into the crowd, vanishing like a ghost in the neon-soaked darkness. Zor sat alone in the booth, his fingers tracing the edges of the data chip, his mind racing with the possibilities of what lay ahead. The hunt for the lost humans had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The sleek, unassuming craft sliced through the inky void, its engines thrumming with a steady, purposeful rhythm. In the tight confines of the cockpit, Vega and Zor hunched over the controls, their faces bathed in the cool glow of the displays. Zor traced a finger along the holographic star map, his brow furrowed in concentration. "If these coordinates are right, we'll reach Earth orbit in just under a cycle," he said. "But getting past the Council's sensor net around the planet, that's going to be the real challenge." Vega nodded, his hands dancing across the navigation panel with practiced ease. "Those counterfeit transit permits we picked up on Reel 4 should do the trick. As long as we don't raise any red flags, we should be able to slip through the security sweeps undetected." Zor leaned back in his seat, fixing Vega with a probing stare. "Listen, Vega, I know we've come this far, but I have to ask, what exactly do you expect to find in that bunker? Even if, by some miracle, there are humans still alive down there, what then? The galaxy's moved on. 500,000 years is a long time. They'd be like living fossils, completely out of place in the here and now." Vega was silent for a long moment, his gaze distant. When he finally spoke, his voice was soft but firm. "Honestly, Zor, I'm not sure what we'll find. But here's what I do know: the Council went to incredible lengths to bury the truth about humanity, to paint them as nothing more than primitive brutes. But everything we've uncovered points to something else entirely: a species that was advanced, resourceful, fiercely independent, willing to risk everything for what they believed in." He turned to face Zor, his eyes blazing with conviction. "I think the Council is afraid. Afraid of what might happen if the rest of the galaxy learned the real story of the humans. By finding that bunker, maybe we can give them a chance to speak for themselves, to shine a light on a history that's been hidden for far too long." Zor absorbed Vega's words, nodding slowly. "You're right. The Council shouldn't get to write the ending to humanity's story. And who knows, maybe the humans left behind more than just bones and fading memories, some piece of their culture, their technology that could change the game entirely." A soft chime from the console interrupted their musings. Vega leaned forward, scanning the readouts. "We're approaching Earth. Time to see if those transit permits are worth the creds we paid for them." The two scientists exchanged a long, meaningful look, a silent acknowledgement of the magnitude of the moment. They were standing on the precipice of a discovery that could shake the very foundations of galactic society. The truth about humanity, buried for eons beneath layers of ice and lies, was finally within their grasp. Vega's fingers hovered over the controls, poised to initiate the landing sequence. Zor reached out, gripping his shoulder in a gesture of solidarity. And with that, Vega engaged the thrusters, sending the ship plunging through Earth's atmosphere in a blaze of heat and light. The frozen wastes of the Arctic loomed below, hiding secrets that had lain undisturbed for 500,000 years. Vega and Zor braced themselves, ready to confront whatever awaited them in the icy depths. The hunt for the last remnants of humanity had reached its final stage.